like to call this meeting of the Westland City Council to order, please. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, tonight led by Michael Martinez and Lydia Victor, the two students from Marshall Upper Elementary.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'll stay right there, Councilwoman Green will be right down to talk to you.
You guys did a great job. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Councilwoman Tasha Green, and I have the pleasure of introducing two amazing students today. First, we have, and actually I'll switch places here. We have a bright young man by the name of Michael Martinez. Michael is an 11-year-old student in the 6th grade at Marshall Upper Elementary in Mr. Meyer Kuchan's class. Did I say that right? Kuchan's class. And Michael has a birthday next week, so happy early birthday, Michael. All right, so Michael is a member of the Tomorrow's Leaders Program, which is a lot like student council. So did anybody tell you what you were getting into before you got on student council?
They told me that I would have to do a lot of city work, like for Santa Land Parade. We did that and passed out candy. They told us a couple things that we would do. We would run parties and stuff that the school did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot like our jobs. And just so you know, there's an election this year, so. When he's older, he wants to do something with math or science as a career, and he is glad that he has great teachers and parents. Fantastic, Michael. Thank you so much for keeping up the good work and setting a good example for the young men and women here in the city of Westland. Anything you'd like to add?
I hope that everybody is safe in school and in driving.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I couldn't agree with you more, Michael. All right, and so next, this bright young lady is Lydia Victor. Lydia is a 12-year-old 6th grade student at Marshall Upper Elementary in Mrs. Range's class. Did I say that right? Awesome. She is a member of the Tomorrow's Leaders Program as well, that is run by Ms. Anderson and Mrs. Hunt. She loves to sing and paint and is currently learning to play the guitar. How's that working out for you?
I know a riff so far, just one and a couple of chords.
Awesome. Maybe you can come back and show us what you got one day. Her favorite subject is math. All of her teachers make school really enjoyable. In her free time, she participates in theater productions and is currently in the cast of The Wizard of Oz at our local Inspire Theater. Congratulations. What role are you playing?
I just have ensemble roles. I am a crow and I'm also an Ozian.
We love crows and Ozians, so keep up the great work. All right, so here is a certificate on behalf of the City Council for both of you. Here's yours, Michael. And here's yours, Lydia. You're welcome. At this time, I welcome any parents, friends, and the principal to come up and maybe share a word or take a nice photo. All right, they're coming for the photo.
I just want to take a picture. Is that okay? Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
Present.
Councilman Hammonds. Here. Councilman Hart. Here. Councilman Hersberg. Here. Councilman Johnson. Here. Councilman Londo. Here. President Godbout.
Present.
Quorum is present.
Begin with announcements and presentations. And I'll begin with the announcements and presentations. If I could get the distinguished young women of Wayne Westland to come forward, meet me down front. I had the privilege of doing the welcome this year at the Distinguished Young Women's competition this year. It was a great event. Lauren, if you want to give it a little explanation about what the program is and what these fine young ladies did during the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us this evening. My name is Lauren Reed. I am the co-director of the Wayne Westland Distinguished Young Women Program. This program has a special place in my heart. I actually participated in 2005. Also went to John Glenn High School and was the representative of Wayne Westland that year. It has been an incredible experience for me. Essentially what it is it's a program in which we are working to enrich the lives of not only the young women that you see today, but young women in the future. It's for high school juniors specifically. And we are so incredibly proud of them. In fact, the Wayne Westland program has been around for 52 years as of this year. And we are the oldest running and longest running program in the state, which we are incredibly proud of. We are raising thousands and thousands of dollars each and every year to be able to award these young women as much money as humanly possible to aid them and their parents in the college journey. So we get the pleasure of spending week after week with them as we work toward our ultimate performance date. And we just honestly cannot appreciate them enough for all of their hard work, their dedication, their incredible kindness, their beauty, and just are incredibly proud of them. So just round of applause for these wonderful representatives.
Thanks. Mayor, did you want to say something?
Just real quick, I can just say this has been one of those long-time Wayne Westland traditions that I think all of us are extremely proud of. So, and I think that this year's contestants were a great representation of our community. So congratulations to each and every one of you.
Thanks. So I'm going to attempt to read off after I put my glasses on because the font is a little small, some of the accomplishments of these young ladies. And let me tell you, I'm glad I wasn't a judge because, and please don't ever ask me to be a judge for this competition because it was extremely tough. They all did a phenomenal job. They're all very talented young ladies, but this year's Distinguished Young Woman of Wayne Westland for 2020 is Susan Leonard. So, Susan, aside from being the Distinguished Young Woman of Wayne Westland for 2020, also in the individual category scholarships, won for scholastics, interview, talent, self-expression, fitness, and the Be Your Best Self essay. So lots of accomplishments and lots of scholarship money that she's going to receive as a result of that. The first runner-up was Brooklyn Clymer. Brooklyn? And Brooklyn also received individual category wins in scholastics, interview, fitness, self-expression, and the Be Your Best Self essay. Next, the next runner-up was Jenna Engberts. Jenna also won in the categories of self-expression, talent, fitness, and Be Your Best Self essay. Next we have Sierra Raymond. And Sierra received scholarship money for talent and the Be Your Best Self essay. Next, we have Barry Bernard. And Barry received some scholarship money for her scholastics. Next, we have Shauna Jackson. And Shauna received some additional scholarship money for her interview, fitness, and Be Your Best Self essay. And then last but certainly not least was Andrea Santiago Lagunas. And Andrea received scholarship money for her Be Your Best Self essay. And all of these young ladies did a phenomenal job. And like I said, I'm just glad I wasn't one of the judges that had to make the decision, because they all worked very hard. You could tell by every category that they participated in on the stage, as well as the group categories where they all were on the stage together. So it's a great job that you do and the directors do putting this together and continuing this tradition in the city of Westland.
Thank you so much. No, I can't thank all of you enough. This community is everything to us, so thank you for all of your support. If you, in the audience, if you have any freshmen or sophomore young women that you know, please have them reach out to us. We would love to have them be a part of this program that means so much to all of us. So thank you for your time and your support.
Thanks.
Thank you, ladies.
Next, we have Commissioner Anderson.
Good evening, council members and audience here, citizens that are here and at home. Just a brief update. I just wanted to mention that last month the commission approved a Justice Assistance Grant, a JAG grant, for $21,581 specifically for the Westland Police Department to improve law enforcement efforts through better technology. And these were through the Wayne County Sheriff's Department, which originated at the U.S. Department of Justice. The City of Westland will also see an increase in its portion of my discretionary allowance in the parks millage, which we all pay every month, and it's continued the practice of my predecessor, who we do it the same way, where it's based on a percentage of the amount paid by that community. Westland will be receiving $42,432 from the 18-19 millage dollars, and that's a small increase over last year. I understand this allocation will be used to help fund renovations at the Madonna Ice Arena. It's a very good use, something that's very worthwhile. At the April 1st meeting, the city's grant contractor's comments, while her office may prepare paperwork for the city, it really doesn't secure the grant, as they're entirely allocated by and through my office. I just wanted to clear up any misunderstanding. She may be doing a lot of the paperwork behind the scenes, and I certainly don't discount that. It's pothole season again, and I just wanted to remind everyone that they can report potholes by calling 1-888 road crew. 1888 road crew. And if you report it and you don't see action on it within a few days, please let my office know. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. We'll move on to citizens' question or input on the agenda. Citizens will be recognized before the business of the meeting commences to address the council pertaining to items that are specifically on the business agenda. Citizens are asked to limit their questions or input to 3 minutes. Is there anyone on my left? Anyone on my right? We'll close citizens' comments and move on to the consent calendar. Is there a motion? Motion by Councilman Johnson. Is there support? Support by Councilman Landau. Is there any discussion from the council? Councilwoman Green.
Yes, I make a motion to move items G and items I through M. Like Igloo, Matthew, to new business, item number 16A.
If I may.
Mr. Clerk.
The council practice has been items moved off the consent calendar fall to the next new business item with a subcategory. For example, 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, et cetera.
Right. Yeah, I would like to make it item 16A. So again, that's item G and then I through M.
Are the maker and supporter of that in concurrence?
They're separate items.
Councilman Londa.
Do you have anything, Bill, first? Did you have anything first?
Well, right now, there's still no support to remove those items from the consent calendar.
I just wanted clarification. If that's the procedure, I think we should move it to new business 1A, new business 2B, or excuse me, 1B, 1C, and so on and so forth, if that's the procedure.
Okay, at this point, I don't have, the maker and supporter of the motion have not agreed to pull those, or to have those removed from the consent calendar. Is there any?
I have no problem moving them. I just want to do it in the appropriate manner.
I understand that. The maker of the motion was Councilman Johnson, I believe. Or no? The maker of the motion for the consent calendar was Councilman Johnson, who was supported? By me. Oh, supported by you?
Councilman Landau.
Okay, Councilman Landau has agreed to move those, but under items 1A through whatever the number would be.
Policy and procedure that requires that any specific number be followed, and I would prefer to move it to 16A.
I too would like to follow the regular procedure that we did, so I will draw my motion to approve.
So you're withdrawing your motion to approve the consent calendar? So we need a motion first then to approve the consent calendar. Motion by Councilman Hart, supported by Councilman Landau. Do you, Councilwoman Green, do you still wish to have them removed?
Yes, items G and then I through M moved. For the sake of moving this meeting along, I will agree to put them at the beginning to items 1A. But just so council is aware, the expectation in the future is that if it is not documented, it is not policy. And there's nothing that regulates which section any items moved from the consent calendar is moved to. There's nothing that regulates that. So I make a motion to move item G and I through, or what was it?
Item F and I through M.
No, it
G.
was not, it was
G
G.
and I through M.
And then I through M to items 1A for the purpose of moving the meeting along.
Is the maker and supporter in agreement with?
Your clarification through the chair, I believe those items should be 1A, 1B, 1C. It's not going to be one single motion, correct? These are all going to be 1A, 1 Bravo, 1 Charlie, 1 Delta. Is that correct?
Councilwoman Green did not state it that way. Our practice has been to consider each item individually.
Okay. I support that.
Fine.
All right, so there's a motion on the floor for the consent calendar, moving item G and items I through M to new business items 1A through whatever the appropriate number is.
F.
F.
Yep.
Is there any further discussion on the consent calendar? Any further discussion on the consent calendar? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
Council has approved the following consent calendar items: minutes of the following meetings: regular meeting held April 1, 2019, study session held April 1, 2019, study session held April 6, 2019, study session held April 10, 2019. Approval of bid for professional services related to the 2019 through 2021 sewer lining project. Administration recommended the low bidder, Liquiforce Services USA, amount as needed, and it is unit pricing. Approval of purchase of equipment for Jefferson Barnes Community Vitality Center baseball field bleachers project. Administration recommended awarding the contract to Game Time Sinclair Recreation in the amount of $24,963.80. Approval of purchase of equipment for Stottlemyre Park Playground Enhancement Project. Administration recommended awarding the contract to Game Time Sinclair Recreation, amount $50,000, which will be paid from the MEDC grant. I believe that gets us to moving to new business.
Correct.
New business, item 1, minutes of the study session held April 8, 2019.
Is there a motion by Councilman Hart? Is there support? Support by Councilman Hammonds. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Hammonds. Yes. Councilman Hart. Yes. Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson. Must abstain due to absence. Councilman Londo.
Yes.
President Godbout.
Yes.
Motion passes. All right, give me a moment here. Item G, which is 1A. Approval of purchase of gazebo-related materials for Stottlemyre Park. Administration recommends awarding the project to the lowest competitive response, Amish Country Gazebos, amount not to exceed $39,415, and upon approval, the city will be utilizing MEDC grants to pay for this expenditure.
Motion by Councilman Hart, supported by Councilman Hammonds. Councilwoman Green?
Yes, I am stating for the record that I will not be in support of this item because the bid that they prepared or that they submitted, this company, Amish Country Gazebos, in the bottom left corner of their bid, they state that they are not going to pull the permit, that the customer or the city is required to pull the permit, which puts liability onto the city. They also state that in the event that any legal action is necessary to collect on a customer's account, Customers shall pay company's costs and expenses, including attorney's fees. So by not pulling the permit, they are not even required to be a licensed builder or to prove that they are a licensed builder. They also hold no liability in the construction of this piece of equipment, and then they have stated in their bid that if any legal action is to take place, the city is on the hook for all costs, expenses, and attorney's fees. So if these people don't have to pull a permit to show that they're even capable of doing this work, if we were to be sued due to some sort of malfunction or injury, the city is agreeing to pay for it based on the bid that is submitted. So I am not in approval of, or I'm not going to approve their bid. All of the bids that came in were in anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 difference from each other. And I would make a motion that we deny this bid that has been recommended for the reasons that I stated, and that we give it to the next acceptable bids that meets the terms, who is able to pull a permit and who will not require the city to take on the legal responsibility on their behalf. So, and if we don't have any of the companies that bidded, if none of them qualify under those terms, I make a motion that I think we should send it back out to bid and write up the specification and have them bid according to our terms. The way that this was bidded puts the city in liability, and so for that reason, I'm not in agreement. Thank you.
If it gets support.
There is a motion to deny. Is there support for the motion to deny? Is there support for the? Councilman Hammond's on the motion to deny. And I'm going to try, pardon? Herzberg, rather. First, and I guess this will have to be on the motion to deny discussion first, since that is the prevailing motion. Mayor, you.
Thank you, Council President. As the council deliberates on the motion to deny, I would ask that the administration give a chance to offer some clarification to this agenda item. And through the chair, I'd like to go to Deputy Mayor Reddy.
Yes, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. To the chair, for the council, this proposal was for the materials for the gazebo. When we're talking about just the materials, they provide the materials. We work with the WLND Ford Technical Center with the children over there. They work in conjunction with our building department, our inspectors. We don't charge the inspections for this service, but to clarify what the gazebo is for the materials only from this company to supply it to us. And then as far as the bidding and stuff, I can have Devin Adams answer that further. But again, this is for the materials only, working in conjunction with the kids at the schools to build it, which we've done, I don't know, 7, 8, almost 10 years straight, doing different pavilions throughout the parks. But I can have Devin answer any of the bid questions. Thanks, Council President.
Councilman Hart.
I withdraw my comment based off of the clarification offered by the deputy mayor.
Is there any other discussion on the motion to deny? Councilwoman Green.
Through the chair to the deputy mayor, will the city, does that then mean the city is going to pull the permit for the students to build this gazebo? We're going to take on the risk for that? Or how does that work in terms of permit and insurance?
Through the chair, just like any other project, we've been working with the children in the schools. The city would be responsible for the permit. We don't charge ourselves for the fees. So again, this is 7, 8 to 10 year projects running that we've been doing every year, and we follow the same procedure every year. We pull the permits, we work with the kids, send it through the building department, and we pull the permits.
Okay, well, thank you. With that information, then I will withdraw my motion to decline. I could have sworn that there was a bid that came in for construction, or I looked at one of them and it did have notation in terms of construction of the facility. So since this is going to be constructed by the students, and the city will, our students here in Westland, I withdraw my motion to remove it. Thank you.
There's a motion to withdraw, and support has been withdrawn from Councilman Hersberg. Which brings us back to the initial motion, which was to approve the purchase of the gazebo-related materials for Stottlemyre Park. Is it, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Hammonds.
Yes.
Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
President Godbout.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving to the next item. Item A, which is now 1B, approval of professional services agreement with JS Big Construction for consulting and project management services related to the renovation of Mike Modano Ice Arena. The amount is $127,568.
The first I is for 40,000.
Oh,
40,000.
I'm glad you corrected me. That must have been, what is the amount?
I is 40,000.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Correction, so it's related to renovation of Mike Modano Ice Arena, amount $40,000.
Motion by Councilman Landau, supported by Councilman Johnson. Is there discussion? Is there discussion? Any dissent? It's not registering as being on, but go ahead, Councilwoman Green.
So for items I through J, I through M, I will state for the record, because these are all involving one project. So on these items, we just had a study session with the company JS Big Construction, who's going to be doing the work on these items. And the total project that in its entirety, with the construction fee and the work to the Mike Modano Ice Arena, is going to total roughly $220,000 in an improvement. We do have a grant from one of our county commissioners for roughly $42,000 that will absorb a portion of that cost, and the remainder of the $220,000 will come from the city's funds. And I am not in agreement with this, and it is not due to the fact that I wouldn't like our ice arena to continue to be improved, but we just did a costly renovation to the ice arena in this year's budget. The improvements that are being recommended are not health and safety issues, and when I say a health and safety issue, I mean something that could pose an injury, something that has been written up from the state as being that we must take immediate action to avoid some sort of fine. These are improvements that will absolutely make the facility look better, hence the $220,000 investment. But that ice arena itself, to keep the doors open at the ice arena, is costing the city more money than we bring in per year. So from a financial standpoint, it is a liability. However, there's lots of leagues, ice skating, and different programs that take place over there. We've had some boxing matches there. So that is not to say that it is not, it's not being used, but the vast majority of the residents who live in the city, here in the city of Westland, are making no investment in that facility. So the city is actually losing money on an annual basis. This was just confirmed again at our study session that we just had last week. And even the impending projection for that location puts the city at an even further financial deficit. And so for that reason, I am not in support of doing this now. That is not to say that once we have a more positive financial projection that we could not consider that later, but that there is nothing that would require an immediate investment of this amount to take place right now with some of the other more urgent financial issues going on in our city that we need to take a look at. One, in my opinion, one being assisting our public safety department. So I am not in agreement to making this type of investment. The building has not been appraised in any recent amount of time to verify that this amount of money would increase the value of this building by $220,000. So again, I'm not in support. I appreciate the work that this company, JS Vig, has done for the city of Westland on a long-term basis. I look forward to continuing to have a relationship, but from a dollars and cents standpoint, I do not foresee supporting an investment of this amount, almost of $250,000, with absolutely no urgency to do so. And we are not going to, we're losing money at that facility right now, so it just does not make sense to me. So my vote will be no, respectfully. Thank you.
Mayor?
Thank you, Council President. If I could, just for the audience and for those listening at home, just explain a little bit about exactly what we're doing here. It's no secret the city of Westland has been reinvesting in the Mike Madonna Ice Arena for the last several years, and we're to the point now where we've taken one of the oldest local ice arenas in the area, and we turned it into a very modern facility. For those of you that remember, this was before my day, but the Mike Madonna Ice Arena actually used to just be an outdoor arena. So, but we were very strategic in how we reinvested in the building, and we started off investing in energy efficiency things that would save us money, like the chillers. And at the time when we replaced those, we were using federal stimulus dollars, and we replaced chillers that were in place when the arena was an outdoor arena. And then through the years, we've invested in LED lights to bring our utility costs down. And the last major project there was adding 4 new locker rooms, and we did improvements to the roof and the area that parents get to sit in when their kids are out there playing. So we're kind of nearing the end of the investment in the arena, and we're down to basically the lobby area, the front of the arena when you come in. We started off with energy efficiency so we could get savings. Then we kind of reinvested in the things that the kids were going to use, the locker rooms and ice improvements. And now we're kind of down to the thing that the parents are going to utilize, and that's the lobby area and the bathrooms. So it is, as the councilwoman stated, it is an investment, and it's a building that's an older building, but we've just about totally modernized this building, and that's something the city of Westland's been working hard on, is modernizing our buildings. So at the end of the day, in this current budget, there was $50,000 to renovate the bathrooms, with the next phase was going to be the lobby area. So as we brought in experts to take a look at it, they took a look at it and they said that with the trades that were going to be involved and with the major part of this investment is going to be the rubberized flooring that covers the whole lobby area and the bathrooms. To do that in separate projects was going to be costly, and it was going to be pretty tough to put that together. So that's what we're doing now is we're kind of bringing both of those projects into one, utilizing the trades only one time to come in. So with the $50,000 that was in the budget, we're also allocating Commissioner Glenn Anderson, who's here tonight, his $42,000. So what we're asking for now is out of the capital improvement fund to fund the rest of that project. So at the end of the day, these aren't general fund dollars, and once we move beyond the Madonna Ice Arena, there's other buildings that we need to continue renovating, and we still haven't finished the police station project, and we've got a capital needs assessment for the Friendship Center. So we're going to be modernizing our buildings moving forward. That's what cities that are 50-year-old cities have to do to remain a quality of life, or maintain a quality of life for our residents, and also to attract new residents. With the modernization of the Mike Madonna Ice Arena, we have been able to attract new users to the site. And as the hockey world changes, you're seeing more and more travel teams kind of moving away from house teams. So we're in a position now that we can attract them, and part of our last major investment was to, for the first time, build women's locker rooms, because now there's an emerging female hockey phenomenon going on, so we're going to be in a position to capitalize on that. At the end of the day, while the ice arena this year is projected to lose a little bit of money, we've been pretty much breaking even at the ice arena when you take a look back. The golf course we're struggling a little bit with Mother Nature, but the ice arena has held its own, and we offset some of our losses there with the concession stands, and over the last couple of years, some of the profits from the H2O zone help us balance the budget at the ice rink and the golf course. So it's a tough balancing act, but we've made a commitment to continue reinvesting in public parks and recreation in the city of Westland. We've done it at the arena, we've done it at our baseball fields, our soccer fields, our football fields, so it is an investment, and I'm asking council to stick with the plan, and let's get the Madonna Ice Arena finished up so that we can move on to some of the other priorities. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? I'll be supporting the approval of the agreement, and just, you know, the ice arena revenues have gone down over the years because of the neglect of the ice arena. And Commissioner Anderson and I both had kids back when the ice arena used to support the losses at the golf course. And I think, but because of the neglect over the years, a lot of those people left and went to other arenas, as well as the ebb and flow. It's amazing, the figure skating program in an Olympic year goes way up, and at other times it kind of levels off. So, but, you know, by reinvesting in this facility, bringing it up to what people expect when they show up at an ice arena, hopefully we'll get back to the profitable standpoint of where it used to be. So we'll take a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Green.
No.
Councilman Hammonds.
Yes.
Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
President Godbout.
Yes.
Motion passes. Moving on to item 1C, approval of construction costs for renovation of Mike Modano Ice Arena, amount not to exceed $180,000.
Motion by Councilman Hart, supported by Councilman Johnson. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Councilwoman Green.
Yes, again, for the record, I will not be in agreement with the $180,000. We just invested hundreds of thousands of dollars this year. And to clarify, we are not breaking even at that arena. We just had a study session, and there was outcry from even the council president about the long-term projection. So I'm very surprised to hear some of the commentary tonight. But with that being the case, I have no advantage to come out here and talk against an investment at an ice arena. We've made multi-million-dollar investments in our parks, which I believe the return is definitely, it's evident and visible. But to invest another $250,000 at that ice arena when we just invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in less than a year ago, and we are not breaking even at that particular facility, I will not be in support. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
No.
Councilman Hammonds. Yes. Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson. Yes. Councilman Londo.
Yes.
President Godbout.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 1D, introduction of budget amendment 2019-03, capital improvement fund in the amount of $127,568.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, supported by Councilman Hart. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
No.
Councilman Hammonds.
Yes.
Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
President Godbout.
Yes.
Motion passes. Moving on to item 1E. waive procedure declaring an emergency due to time constraints to allow the introduction and adoption of Budget Amendment 2019-03 in the same meeting, Capital Improvement Fund, in the amount of $127,568.
Motion by Councilman Hart, supported by Councilman Hersberg. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
No.
Councilman Hammonds.
Yes.
Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson. Councilman Londo. President Gamble.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 1F, adoption of Budget Amendment 2019-03, Capital Improvement Fund, in the amount of $127,568.
Motion by Councilman Hart, supported by Councilman Hersberg. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
No.
Councilman Hammonds.
Yes.
Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
President Gamble.
Yes.
Motion passes. Moving on to, in a moment here. New business item 2, request to go into closed study session immediately to discuss pending litigation, Edwards versus City of Westland.
Motion by Councilman Landau, supported by Councilman Hart. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Hammonds.
Yes.
Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
President Gamble.
Yes. Council will take a recess to go into closed session. I'd like to call the meeting of the Westland City Council back to order, please.
Need a motion to do that.
Is there a motion? Motion by Councilman Hart, supported by Councilman Hersberg. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. New business item 4, approval of attorney's recommendation regarding pending litigation as discussed in the closed study session.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, supported by Councilman Hersberg. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
New business item 5, public hearing to review the Community Development Block Grant Annual Consolidation Action Plan, Year 45, Community Development Block Grant and Home Program budgets for the fiscal period July 1, 2019 through June 30, 2020.
So move.
This is a public hearing. Any citizen wishing to speak may speak once at a public hearing for up to 3 minutes. Is there anyone on my right? Anyone on my left? Is there a motion? Motion to close public hearing by Councilman Londo. Is there support? Support by Councilman Hart. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
New business item 6, approval of special land use for proposed adult daycare, 8010 and 8012 North Middlebelt, Ann Arbor Place Shopping Center, northeast corner of Middlebelt and Ann Arbor Trail, Planning Department number 311G. Planning Commission recommends approval, contingent upon departmental requirements and recommendations.
Motion by Councilman Londo. Is there support? Support by Councilman Hammonds. Mo?
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, members of the Westland City Council. Mohammed Ayub from the Planning Department. This is a request for special land use approval for a proposed adult daycare at 8010 and 8012 North Middlebelt Road, northeast corner of Middlebelt and Ann Arbor Trail. The property comprises of 6.65 acres and is zoned CB2. The site is developed by the Arbor Place Shopping Center, approximately 63,000 square feet. The special land use is proposed in an existing shopping center in these 2 suites that were formerly occupied by a dentist, vacant today. There are no site changes being proposed today. The site is accessed off of 2 curb cuts existing off of Middlebelt, 2 existing off of Ann Arbor Trail. There's currently existing landscaping off of those two roads, which meets the zoning ordinance. Also, a masonry screening wall wrapping the perimeter around this residential community adjacent to Manchester and Whitehall that is compliant with the zoning ordinance as well. Parking is compliant in addition to drainage and lighting. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you.
Is the petitioner present? Yes, if you'd like to. Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening. Is there anything you'd like to add to?
No, really.
Good answer.
Is there any discussion from the council? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously. Good luck.
Thank you.
New business, item 7, approval of site plan for proposed expansion to Mr. Storit, 5235 Merriman Road, east side of Merriman, north of Van Born Road, Planning Department number 1276L. Planning Commission recommends approval contingent upon departmental requirements and recommendations.
Motion by Councilman Hart. Is there support? Support by Councilman Hersberg. Oh,
Thank you, Council President. This is a site plan approval request for the proposed expansion of an existing facility, Mr. Storit, at 5235 Merriman Road, east side of Merriman, north of Van Born, zone CB3. The property comprises 14.66 acres and is developed, again, with Mr. Storit, mini storage warehouse facility and resale center. The petitioner proposes to demolish an existing 935 square foot existing apartment and construct an 8,000 square foot addition to the storage and retail center. The site will contain 40 parking spaces, which is 5 greater than the required of 35. The proposed building will be primarily masonry with aluminum, with insulated glass with aluminum framing, 20 foot in height, matching the existing. The site is also, the proposed site plan is also compliant in terms of lot coverage, setbacks, and again, height. The site contains existing landscaping as well in accordance with the zoning ordinance. Thank you.
is the petitioner present?
Oldie Vittens, Vittens Engineering. I'm representing the owner, Mr. Manny's, 5 Star Storage.
Do you have anything you'd like to add? Or?
Not at this time. The planner did a great presentation.
Thanks. Is there any discussion from the council? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
New business, item 8, confirmation of appointment of Kyle Mulligan as Parks and Recreation Director, effective Monday, May 6, 2019.
Motion by Councilman Londo. Is there support? Support by Councilman Hart. Mayor?
Thank you, City Council. So we come before you tonight with the candidate to fill our open Parks and Recreation position. And Council, I appreciate your patience as we've gone through the process to fill this position. And I'd like to thank Stephanie and the Personnel Department for doing a very exhaustive search and whittling down our interviewees to a short list. And the gentleman that certainly stood out is here in the audience tonight. He's sitting in the front row. It's Mr. Kyle Mulligan. Kyle is a graduate of Central Michigan University. He majored in Recreation, Parks, and Leisure Service Administration. He's got a history of working with the JCs, Relay for Life, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Special Olympics, Gus Macker. Some of the other things that we really liked about him, besides being a high-energy individual with a lot of great ideas, is he's got a focus on revenue generation, and we know with our Parks and Recreation that that's going to be important so we can continue to keep funding them. He's got a lot of experience in event management, This position, since we've split the Parks Director basically into two positions and took the facilities management part out of it, really allows, it's going to allow Mr. Mulligan to focus on our relationships with our youth organizations and also work on programming. And that's something that's kind of our next step. We've reinvested in all of our fields. We've reinvested in our recreation buildings. The next step is to start offering programming for the youth. We certainly don't want to duplicate what we already have. So one of the things that Kyle will be tasked with is taking a look at our current offerings, whether they be adult softball, youth softball, baseball, football, soccer, and trying to find the gaps that we have, and that's where we're going to start trying to bring in some programming. He's got a lot of experience coordinating and managing youth leagues, developing, organizing, planning, and promoting large-scale events, which we do plenty of those here in the city of Westland. And one of the other things that we liked about him is that he's got a relationship with the YMCA Summer Camp Program, which is something that we've really proud of the development that we've done here. So, Council, I apologize that I heard today that Mr. Mulligan's resume was not part of your initial council packet, but I think that we emailed everybody his resume here today, and he's certainly here tonight. He's got a lot of energy, a lot of great ideas, and I think that he'll be a great addition to our team. This is a mayor appointment which requires city council confirmation. So with that, council, I would turn the microphone back to you, and Mr. Mulligan's in the audience and can try to answer any questions you have.
Is there any discussion from the council? Councilman Hersberg.
Thank you. Yeah, with respect to the comments made by the mayor and with respect to Kyle Mulligan, I would like to table this item. So I make a motion to table. We didn't get all the information until this afternoon when Councilman Hammonds had requested it. We got ourselves in trouble with this position before with maybe the person not being able to pass the state certification, so I'd like to take a second look at it.
There's a motion to table and support. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Hammonds.
No.
Councilman Hart.
No.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
No.
President Gabel.
No.
Motion fails.
So we revert back to the initial motion for motion to approve. Is there any further discussion on the motion to approve? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Hammonds.
Yes.
Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
President Godbout.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Would you like to stand and be recognized, Kyle?
I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity. I am looking forward to getting down to the nitty-gritty and doing what needs to be done for this city. I can't wait to get started, and thank you again. That's all I really have, so thank you.
New business item 9, approval of 100% starting salary for Parks and Recreation Director Kyle Mulligan.
Is there a motion? Motion by Councilman Londo. Is there support? Is there support? Motion by Councilman Londo, supported by Councilwoman Green. Councilman Londo, since you were the maker of the motion, you go first.
Thanks, President Gabel. I just want to state for the record, as the mayor stated, they have split this department into two roles. So the starting salary, the 100% of the salary is $40,000, not the original, what the previous parks directors made. Thanks.
Councilman Johnson?
That also was, I wanted to point a clarification because it says 100% of the salary, but in the information we got, it shows a salary at $40,000. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that was the top of the pay plan. Is there benefits attached to this position? Through the chair.
Yes, Stephanie?
There are benefits under the pay plan, the mayor's pay plan.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Councilman Landau?
Thanks, President Gabo. We obviously know this has been we've had a lot of pass-through with this position. Is there a chance for growth if he succeeds in this role? Is there incentives in the contract to pay more down the road so we don't lose another young professional?
Mayor?
Well, that's an interesting question, Councilman Landau. At this point, we'll be coming, if Mr. Mulligan's approved at the next council agenda, there'll be an update to the pay plan because right now there's currently not a position to pay plan at this rate. Our goal is that we would continue to build parks and recreation. The 10th largest city in the state of Michigan is going to have a hard time growing parks and recreation with one person who's going to be with one person and one clerical. So that is our Parks and Recreation Department outside of the folks that maintain the property. So our goal is to rebuild this thing back to where we were at one point, and I think Mr. Mulligan's the person to lead the department, and I think that if he does a good job, I'm sure the council will want to reward him for his hard work. Thanks.
Councilwoman Green.
Will he be required to obtain the certification that this position required for the previous Parks and Recreation directors that I believe the last two may have had attempted unsuccessfully? Will he be required to obtain that certification? And before we make a decision on salary, considering what we all know is the financial status of our decisions here in the city, we need to take into account that I believe his position has been given to two people. So Vic Barra and Mr. Mulligan are now conjoined in terms of the Parks and Recreation Department responsibilities. So it's not like we're hiring him at the bottom tier and while everybody else was getting a much higher salary. When you account for what Vic Barra's salary was approved at, plus the $40,000 for this gentleman, and they're going to get additional clerical help, that is now three people. So I think, and we can talk about that when it comes up, but I don't think that this is something to where he's being underpaid and we need to look at a salary bump off top, because we actually could just hire in a Parks and Rec director and go back to the way it was. Now we have more people. So again, through the chair to whomever would answer this question, is he going to be responsible or required to obtain the necessary certification for Parks and Rec? Thank you.
Mayor?
Council, I feel confident that Mr. Mulligan wants to be certified and do a great job in the city of Westland just as much as you do. So if perhaps over the next couple of days, if you can clarify what type of certifications you'd like him to work towards, certainly we can work through the personnel department to put him in a position so he can start working on those certifications.
Is there any further discussion from the council? Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Hammonds. Yes. Councilman Hart. Yes. Councilman Hersberg. Yes. Councilman Johnson. Yes. Councilman Lendo.
Yes.
President Godbout.
Yes.
Unanimously approved. New business item 10, confirmation of reappointment of Steve Smith to the Building Authority for a 6-year term with the term to expire March 5, 2025.
Is there a motion? So moved. Motion by Councilman Johnson, supported by Councilman Hersberg. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Steve. Thank you. That's why we moved the vote quickly.
Right. I'll buy him a coffee in the morning. We'll celebrate. New business, item 11, confirmation of reappointment of Roger Shiflett to the Building Authority for a 6-year term with the term to expire March 5, 2025.
Is there a motion? Motion by Councilman Hart. Is there support? Supported by Councilman Hersberg. Or I'm sorry, Councilman Hammonds. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously. Roger?
New business item 12, confirmation of reappointment of Bob Fritz to the Building Authority for a 6-year term with the term to expire March 5, 2025.
Support. Motion by Councilman Johnson, supported by Councilman Landau. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously. Bob?
New business item 13, confirmation of reappointment of Matthew Miller to the Economic Development Corporation Tax Increment Finance Authority for a 4-year term with the term to expire May 4, 2023.
Is there a motion? Motion by Councilman Hersberg. Is there support? Support by Councilman Hart. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously. Mr. Miller?
New business item 14, confirmation of appointment of Albert Phoenix to the Local Development Finance Authority for a 4-year term with the term to expire April 15, 2023.
Motion by Councilman Landau, supported by Councilman Hart. Mayor?
Thank you, City Council. The next 2 appointments are going to be for the Local Development Finance Authority, the LDFA. This is the Tax Increment Finance Authority that is made up of basically the Newburgh, Cherry Hill area that includes the underpass there. The next 2 appointments are both residents that applied through the city's website. And the first gentleman is Mr. Albert Phoenix. We probably know him better as First Sergeant Albert Phoenix. He's the John Glenn Senior Army Instructor from the Junior ROTC Department. Started back in 2017, and he's with us tonight.
Councilman Hart?
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to speak an accolade about our friend First Sergeant Phoenix. So a lot of people call him Albert Phoenix. My daughter and myself and us in uniform call him First Sergeant Phoenix, and a lot of times I just catch him, I call him Top. And for those of you in the Army, you know First Sergeant, you call him Top until they yell at you one time for calling him a toy. So you'll see if they let you get away with it or not. But one other thing about First Sergeant Phoenix, he's an Audie Murphy recipient. For those of you who are in the Army, that's one of the highest awards you can get United States Army. We are very, very grateful to have you here in our city, and I can't tell you how grateful I am that you're running the JROTC program here at John Glenn. My daughter is a part of the JROTC program, and I'm a product of the JROTC program in the school I came from. So looking forward to having you work with us in another capacity, and I couldn't be more thrilled. So thank you.
Is there any further discussion from the council? Any further discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
New business item 15, confirmation of appointment of Cheryl Newton to the Local Development Finance Authority for a 4-year term with the term to expire April 15, 2023.
Motion by Councilman Johnson. Is there support? Support by Councilman Hammonds. Mayor?
Thank you, Council. And our next candidate is Ms. Cheryl Newton from the City of Westland. Included in your packet is actually quite a lengthy resume. Ms. Newton is extremely experienced in a lot of different aspects. So I think she's going to be a great addition to our LDFA board, and perhaps we may even see her name on some other appointments coming down the road too. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously. Ms. Newton?
New business item 16, approval of voucher.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, supported by Councilman Landau. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Green?
Yes, I make a motion to remove my previous voucher from the table for conference reimbursement from the last meeting.
That motion is out of order at this point in time. It has to be a separate agenda item, not part of an existing motion to take an item from the table.
Shouldn't it have been listed on the agenda as an agenda item? It's not listed on the agenda.
No, but as the council president mentions, when an item is not on the table, on the floor for consideration, in other words, when there is no motion pending, it is appropriate to bring that item up. It could have been before this, it could be after this. It just can't be while you're addressing a different item on the agenda.
Okay.
So there's a motion and support on the approval of vouchers. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Councilwoman Green?
Yes, there was a invoice on the voucher roll for conference reimbursement for the mayor. This is through the chair to Steve Smith for $252.28. He's an elected official like I am. I'm wondering if you can tell me what that conference reimbursement is for. There's also another conference, there's a couple other ones for employees and then something for First National Bank, but I'm curious about, since myself and the mayor are both elected officials, what is that $252.28 for?
Mr. Smith?
Through the chair, I will have to go back and look to see exactly what conference that was for. I don't have that with me tonight. Or on the second question on the First National Bank of Omaha, I will have to check that one as well.
Okay. Through the chair too, Mr. Smith, I'm very disappointed that you don't have that information tonight because I asked you that question last week and you knew that we were having council tonight, and I'm positive that you knew the reason why I was asking. So I would appreciate if you can get that information to me ASAP because he and I are in the same collective seat as elected officials. So I'll look forward to getting that information from you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on the vouchers? Any further discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously. Councilwoman Green?
I make a motion to remove my previous voucher from the table.
There's a motion to remove from the table. Is there support?
I support the motion.
Motion to remove from the table by Councilwoman Green, supported by Councilman Hersberg. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green?
Yes.
Councilman Hammonds? No. Councilman Hart? No. Councilman Hersberg?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
No.
Councilman Londo?
No.
President Godbout?
No.
Motion fails.
We'll move on to citizens' comments or requests. Citizens will be recognized at the end of the meeting. Immediately following the agenda item approval of vouchers, citizens are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. All citizens wishing to speak will be heard. Everyone speaking before the council should do so in a civil manner. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, vulgar language, disruptive outbursts, threats, racial slurs, or other conduct that interferes with the orderly conduct of the business meeting. Personal attacks on council members, the administration, city staff, or other speakers or members of the public will not be tolerated. Any citizen wishing to address the council shall provide their name and city of residence and shall address their comments to and through the chair when speaking from the podium. Is there anyone on my right? Yes, sir.
How you guys doing today? My name's Frank Johnson. I live at 29834 Ann Arbor Trail. Recently I had some concrete I wanted to do, add a slab. My daughter just turned 16. For safety, I thought, so she could back in. I got denied. I called him up, asked him why I got denied. He said because of safety. I asked, what is safety? My slab, at the time, I did not know. I thought it was 12, two 12s, but it was actually 18 by 30. I'm just asking to add an extra 12 feet, 12 by 30, to go all the way to the street. My thing is, I went up and down Ann Arbor Trail. There's 15 to 20 houses that have multiple slabs. My neighbor, 2 houses down, their whole entire grass was nowhere where it was grass, it's all concrete. So I'm just kind of figuring out, and I asked the gentleman on the phone, he said if you go to 30, it'd be okay. Well, I'm 2 inches short, do I just go ahead and put it in for 30? I'm not 100% sure, no one gave me an answer. I tried calling today, he didn't return my message, so that's why I'm here. My next step, if I get declined here, I'm going to want to talk to the mayor. I mean, if you go up and down Ann Arbor Trail, you can see how many houses have extra slabs. To me, it's outrageous. If no one's pulling permits, doing the right thing. I was doing the right thing, asking for a permit. It's actually there to better me to make sure it's done properly, because I can't do the concrete. So I'm at loss of words right now. I don't know how to handle this to go forward. If you look at it, should I just say, forget the permit, just do it, you guys fine me? But no one else has been fined on my block. Why should I be singled out? That's how I feel.
I'm going to have the Deputy Mayor address the comment.
Thanks, Council President. Sir, we'll have Mo, our planner, walk out with you, get your information.
I spoke to him on the phone already.
But I don't know if you spoke with Mo or someone from the building department, but he's going to get your information from you, and then we'll reach out to you tomorrow and put you in contact with the building department and get you some information for you. Thank you. Thanks, Council President.
Is there anyone on my left? Yes.
Good evening. I'm Andrea Rutkowski. I reside at 34039 Cowan Road. I just wanted to express my gratitude for allowing the citizens, as it is our duty, to sit in on your budgeting session for the last week or so. As the wife of a professional firefighter, I get to live day in and day out the feeling of not knowing if he'll come home. So I really appreciate the fact that you're doing all that you can to provide our first responders the best livelihoods they can in this city, and I'm especially grateful for the care that they provided my son. It's a true testament to the service they provide when he broke his leg and fell asleep in the ambulance. So I just wanted to extend my gratitude and thank all of you as well. Thanks.
Anyone on my right? Anyone on my left? Yes.
Good evening, City Council, and missing mayor over here. Going back to 15 years ago, I wrote an article on the opinion page for the Westland Observer, which would be 2004, and reading that with what I'm about to say, it seemed like it was fitting for what I'm talking about tonight. And the first paragraph reads, "Who is responsible for preserving our local history? In my opinion, city government cannot do it alone. It's not their sole responsibility. It's up to the Westland community to care about preserving the past and getting involved. Until that day comes when more people in our city become interested, our past is in danger of being obliterated." I know that's a strong term, but anyway, for almost 18 years, I was super involved with the Friends of the Museum organization, and part of that time as a historical commissioner. It had been around 11 years since I'd been to the museum property, but last October I did visit there and I was given a tour. At that time I realized with the short-staffed historical commission that help was needed. There were at that time, no active historical society members helping them out. And like I've always said, the Historical Commission is the hardest working commission or board in our city. I mean, how many boards or commissions clean toilets, vacuum, clean floors, etc.? Hard-working group. In regards to the Westland Historical Society, recently we had 2 society meetings. Not a good response, for only 5 people were there. One just there as a commissioner, just to listen, I guess. And one person wore 2 hats. That was Ryan Eberhardt. He's a commissioner and Historical Society. Thank you, Ryan. There are a variety of ways you can become involved at the Historical Park on Wayne Road. With added acres to the property and 5 buildings at present time to maintain, much help is needed. We can find something that works with your own special interest, like tours, gardening, cleaning, fundraisers, just to name a few. Talk to your family and friends about the history of Nankin Township and Westland. Encourage them to visit us. Help preserve the past. Even, again, more help will be needed as new plans develop for the museum site. Preserving and maintaining would show community pride. And just for your information, the historical park is located on Wayne Road between Cherry Hill and Marquette. The hours are 1 to 4 Saturdays. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Is there anyone on my right? Mrs. McKinney?
A few weeks ago, I had a problem with people burning wood behind my house. And I know there are laws in the city and in the county that you can't have an open fire, and that's what this was. I went through it last year. I don't want to go through it this year. When you have lung trouble, it's really bad when people burn, especially green wood. And I want to thank the fire department for coming out there and the police department for getting them, because I didn't know the address. Between the 2, they got it done, and they went back and stopped. But I'm just so upset about people just not thinking about this, but it affects a lot of people. Last year, a couple of years ago, they burned cottonwood right behind the house where 2 people were allergic to cottonwood. So you got to consider your neighbors. The other thing I forgot now. I think that's about it. Thank you.
Anyone on my left? Yes.
Riester Everett, City of Westland. I would like to comment and thank whoever thought of that, anyone speaking before the city council. Thank you for bringing some stability to this city. Really appreciate it. We should have had it a long time ago, but it's here now. Thank you, guys. You have a good day.
Anyone on my right? Right?
Interesting. I like the rules. Sounds like it's pretty, see how they go. Anyway, I'm real happy tonight not hearing about the microphones. I thought that was kind of nice that, we try to be stable and everyone try to work together. It's very important because, we want to be professional because people look at us. People look at me. People say things to me that, Ray, you do a good job out there. You're from the council. You go to city council out there, and you try to think positive things, and what I try to do is think positively. And mental health is very important to me. I want to let you know something in here. I'm an ambassador now, Ambassador Ray, and what that is mental health. I will be going out to training people in groups, like the fire department, reaching out to the police department, reaching out to the community, and maybe sometime in City Hall. I'm going to be reaching out in Garden City, Livonia, and it's going to be real interesting for me. But there's 14 people that got trained. And the certificate is professionally, DWMHA. And it says, has successfully completed beginning courses in ambassador training and I'm official now. And I love it. This is my passion. And you know, what I do is, I'll talk a little bit about it. I'll talk people about my story, how mental health has helped my life. And how it can open up and get rid of that stigma. Because you might have someone in your family, someone in the police department might have a hard time with somebody with don't know where to go, you know, to help this person. So that's where we come in from, with resources, books, information, what DWMHA do have. So I'm going to be reaching out to Bob Wilkie, hopefully at the Westland Police Department, because I want to have, you know, make a phone call with him and talk to him, and hopefully maybe I can do some type of training. I would love to speak about my life. It's very important, because sometimes I make people think, because it's very important. It can happen to people just like that. You could be fine 1 minute, the next minute. And I'm going to reach out with Kevin Coleman, and I'm going to reach out to legislatures, coffee hours. It's important. I'm going to try to make an appointment with him first before I get up and talk, because when I do a group thing, it's very important. So this, and you know, the Ambassadors program, I think, is really good, because you hear positive things now about mental health. You know, because sometimes people with my insurance company, too, said the same thing to me. Say, Ray, you're doing a good job out there. Keep up the good work. I'm training their staff. I want to train the staff in City Hall, maybe. That's important, and it's very important. And I want to say thank you for listening to me.
Anyone on my left? State Rep.
Thank you, City Council. Kevin Coleman, State Representative, 16th District. We just have another upcoming event that I forgot to mention at the last meeting that I attended. And it's actually the next coffee hour in the city of Wayne, but I wanted to make sure everybody felt welcome to come. I like to see the crossover between Wayne and Westland, and people from Wayne coming to our coffee hours, and people from Westland coming down to Wayne. So the next one is going to be May 9th. It's a Thursday, and it's at 6:30 p.m. And it's at Karma Coffee Shop, which is on Michigan Avenue, just west of Wayne Road. So Karma Coffee, 6:30 p.m., May 9th. Thank you.
Anyone on my right? Anyone on my left? We'll close citizens' comments and move on to comments from the administration. MJ?
Nothing.
Any comments from the city attorney's office?
Nothing this evening.
We'll begin council comments with Councilwoman Grant.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to start tonight by thanking Michael and Lydia for leading the Pledge of Allegiance. I would also like to remind or notify our community that our annual Mother's Day book sale for Friends of the Library is coming up next month in May. Everything is on sale for 25 cents. That includes books, CDs, and DVDs. It will take place at our local library beginning on Thursday, May the 2nd, from 3 to 6 p.m. That is the preview for Friends of the Library members only. Also on Friday, May 3rd, from 10 to 4, Saturday, May 4th, from 10 to 4, and Sunday, May 5th, from 12 to 3. All three of those days are open to the public. And on Sunday, it is the bag day, and book bags sell for $4, and you can stock as much information or items that you can inside the book. Beaumont Health Wayne Westland presents yoga in Wayne Westland schools. That is going to take place, it's actually taking place now, it's already started, but it is on Mondays, and it will continue through the end of this month, from 3 to 4 p.m. at the Wayne Memorial High School inside of the media room. And so that is Mondays from 3 to 4 o'clock. Free yoga classes taught by one of the instructors at the Lifetime Fitness Gym in Canton, Michigan will be teaching the class. It is free to all ages, and the Wayne Memorial High School is located at 3001 4th Street in the city of Wayne. Beaumont also has a program for diabetes prevention going on this month. 58% of new cases of type 2 diabetes can be prevented through programs like this diabetes prevention program. The information sessions are taking place on Thursdays from 6 to 7, and then the actual sessions begin this week, actually on Thursday from 6 to 7. It's taking place at the Hype Recreational Center. That is the rec center located in Wayne, Michigan, also, and that address is 4635 Howell Street. So again, this coming Thursday from 6 to 7, diabetes prevention, free with Beaumont Hospital. I would like to just briefly speak to the motion that I made for my voucher, just to clarify for those of you who were not present during the last meeting. I submitted a reimbursement request when traveling for to an annual legislative conference for training. It took place in Washington, D.C. At the annual Congressional Black Caucus. So that is a annual training that brings together legislators all over the country for different training, networking, and informational topics that help us perform better as elected officials. At the time that I went to that particular training, I was not allowed to serve on a commission here in the city of Westland. I was denied that opportunity by our mayor after having been elected due to me voting against the council president. I was not allowed to serve on a commission. So I went to the Congressional Black Caucus in the city of Washington, D.C. For training. It was a 3-day training, I believe. And at that, when I went to the training, it was a public training class. And some of the classes that I was trained on and was able to speak with other legislators who've been in office for many, many years, they had a transportation brain trust that I was able to sit in on. They had veterans issues brain trust. They trained us on the cannabis industry for legislators, economic development, identifying and implementing effective mental health strategies, workforce diversity, voting vigilance. There was judiciary brain trust in terms of police accountability and perform, also technology at the local level. So there was a variety, and that's just some of the training that was provided. Again, it was a public meeting. At the last meeting, council voted to put my invoice to put it on the table, which basically means they weren't going to pay it. Now, I am the first elected official that I am aware of that they have done this to, and we've been a city for almost 60 years. They don't normally challenge invoices for elected official reimbursement, and they have refunded hundreds of thousands of dollars for each other and other council people throughout the years. And when I went to DC, the only thing that I requested reimbursement for was my hotel. I did not ask for airfare. I did not ask for food. We can expense up to 3 meals a day. I didn't ask for mileage, Uber travel, any of that. When they submit for expenses, most often it is for everything that we qualify for. I asked for hotel only. My hotel was denied. And so when that occurred, I did a Freedom of Information Act request, and I'm waiting on those results because I believe what occurred here, not only at the last meeting, but tonight, is actually discriminatory. The city attorney did weigh in and offer his official legal opinion due to the issues that arose with them rejecting mine. And as you can see tonight, the mayor's conference was refunded tonight. Council president had a conference that was refunded tonight. They refund without challenge for each other. This occurred with me. The city attorney's legal opinion stated that there is no written policy in terms of what would substantiate which elected official or expenses qualify for reimbursement. The city attorney stated that. He also stated that it is lawful when the purpose of the expenditure will serve the public as opposed to a private or political purpose. This was a public meeting for all legislators throughout the country. It was not just for African American legislators. Several of the men that I sit here with now joined the NAACP and are members of the NAACP when they started running for office. So this being a Congressional Black Caucus annual legislative meeting it was open to the entire public, and it has been occurring in Washington, D.C. for the last 48 years. One of the things that the city attorney also added to his email is that council should undertake its deliberation and keep in mind the need to treat all people the same and not less favorably because of race or sex. Now, again, I'm waiting on the Freedom of Information Act results because I'm not going to make an accusation. What I am going to do is prove that there is a difference in how I was treated. There is a difference in how these votes are going on as it relates to me. This is not the first issue. I'm sure it won't be the last. I have already retained legal counsel. What occurred here tonight, and I want to thank you, Peter, for the support, I believe it was extremely biased. I have already talked to individuals within the several people have called me who are in office and who are no longer in office here in the city of Westland and provided ample information in terms of this not being the process. So I am awaiting the results of my Freedom of Information Act request, and I'm going to keep it positive. I'm not going to let this or any other issue stop me, to prevent me from being effective. I'm not going to stop serving the community, and I'm going to walk in here with a smile on my face while we handle this legally, because I absolutely am not going to let this and many other issues go by the wayside. And I just wanted to read a description of what the Congressional Black Caucus annual program is. It is an annual legislative conference hosted by the Congressional Black Caucus that brings together elected officials of all backgrounds and experiences for development, education, to brainstorm issues that affect all levels of governments, national town halls, and a variety of receptions and networking. This conference has taken place in Washington, D.C. annually for 48 years. It is a public meeting for elected officials throughout the nation. So I believe my request met all of the guidelines according to the instruction of the city attorney. And again, keep in mind that I only asked for hotel reimbursement, and many of them get everything. So you can see, you can draw your own conclusion, and I am going to follow up on this accordingly. So I thank you all for the support, and I wanted to clarify, there was one statement at the last meeting, Councilman Londo mentioned that I had been invited to attend a commission meeting from the mayor or a previous employee of the mayor, and I didn't show up. When that invitation went out, I let him know that I would not be able to attend because I would be in Washington, D.C. at the legislative conference. The reason why he didn't know that and gave false information to appear as though I had the opportunity that he's been given on multiple occasions and just skipped out on it is because we don't answer to each other. We are elected officials. And the only thing that I asked was that we all be treated the same. I didn't ask to be treated better, but these TASHA rules that continue to come up, I've been documenting them the entire way. Everybody is aware, including the city attorney, who actually showed me the proper way to request my motion off of the table, being new to council. So to say I'm disappointed, I absolutely am, but this is not over. And I will continue to keep the community updated. I'm not going to suffer in silence, and that is one of the issues. There's a lot of things that transpire behind closed doors, and they don't want anybody to know about it because I was told I make them look bad. Well, my mother always told me, if you don't want anybody talking about you, don't give them anything to talk about. So the community needs to know exactly what I'm dealing with in here. But in light or beside the fact I'm going to continue to stand up, I thank God for the residents of Westland. Please know that you have a councilwoman for the people, and I'm going to continue to stand on your behalf. And as I stated in closing at the last council meeting, I am working on getting a millage, more discussion for a millage to assist our public safety department. And that is just a beginning discussion. We have not moved forward on that, but our public safety department is understaffed and underpaid. We are we're losing people to the city of Wayne, and Wayne has a reputation for being a training location. We are now losing members of our public safety because we can't compete with Wayne. So what I asked the council to do, and the mayor and his administration, to let's schedule a study session to see what we can do in this budget to assist public safety. And I have made them aware that in the event that they do not schedule the meeting, which if previous action is any indication, I don't know if they will move forward with scheduling it or not, but I have made them aware that I have the support to move forward without them, and that's exactly what I intend to do. So thank you for your support, your prayers, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.
Councilman Hammonds.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to take a minute to congratulate everybody on their appointments and reappointments tonight. We thank you for your service. And if you ever need anything, please reach out to me. I will be willing to lend a hand. I also want to congratulate all the distinguished young women that came out tonight. Outstanding job, way to represent Wayne Westland, and congratulations. That's it for me. Thank you.
Councilman Hart.
Thank you, Council President. Also, I'd like to congratulate the distinguished young women of Wayne Westland. It's always nice to see them come out here and kind of set a good example for their peer group. I'll be sure to go home and remind my daughter that's something she needs to look into. Congratulations to the WLPD. They had an awards ceremony on Friday. It was great to watch all of our local officers show up and get recognized for all the amazing work they do all year. We actually had a special opportunity this year to see some appropriate body cam footage of some of the things they have to see. And I tell you, when you see it up front and personal, it really gives you a lot of perspective. It's kind of easy to kind of armchair quarterback a little bit when you hear about things, when you see them and see what they have to deal with. It was pretty impressive, and I was very impressed by how well they could handle a very dangerous problem. So thank you. Congratulations to all the appointments today. I look forward to you guys getting to work in any way I could help you. Again, Top, anything you need, let me know. Congratulations again. And congrats to our new Parks and Recreation Director, Kyle. I look forward to seeing all the things you're going to do. I have a laundry list a mile long, so I'll be happy to email that to you. And in closing, I'd like to wish you all a happy Easter holiday. Thank you.
Councilman Johnson.
Thank you. Just real quick, Mr. Smith, I congratulate you on your appointment. I'm not sure you raised your hand, but either way, you do a great job. Mr. Shiflett, Mr. Fritz Miller, Mr. Phoenix, and Ms. Newton, I appreciate you guys accepting the responsibility. You're not going to get rich on these jobs. Bob knows that well. But we do appreciate your help, and that's all I got tonight. Thanks.
Councilman Landau.
Thanks, President Gaba. I also want to start by congratulating the distinguished young woman of Wayne Westland, and also congratulations to Kyle Mulligan on his appointment to be the new Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Westland. I look forward to working with him and seeing another young professional on our staff, and look forward to hearing his ideas and seeing our department grow in the future. Also, congratulations to Steve Smith, Roger Shiflett, Bob Fritz, Albert Phoenix, and thank you for your service. And Cheryl Newton on your appointments or reappointments to the various boards and commissions. Looking forward to a positive working relationship with all of you. Last week, as was discussed, we had 3 very long budget deliberations or discussions going over the mayor's proposed 2019 through 2020 fiscal year budget. I want to first start by thanking the finance team, Deputy Mayor Reddy, and all of the department heads. Those were some long days, a lot of questions. Some that we gave a heads up on and some we weren't able to give a heads up on. Unfortunately, we just kind of think of them on the fly, but appreciate the fact that they were able to answer some of them and they tried to answer them if they couldn't answer them right then and there. Appreciate your professionalism and for doing the best to answer them. I had a chance to forgot the last meeting to mention, I had a chance to read at both Hamilton and Edison Elementary for March's Reading Month, so I want to thank the staff for allowing myself and then the police and fire chiefs for allowing me to bring a couple of our fire officials and police officers to read. The kids seem to love it. And then also last week in the Westland Meteors and the Westland Comets cheerleaders did a halftime performance at the Detroit Pistons game. I wasn't able to make it, but I know the mayor was there with his family, and we were well represented. We had about 300 of Westland's finest there supporting our cheerleaders. Also, last couple things, I saw on social media a young girl had her bike stolen last week, and thanks to the power of social media, once again, the young lady had a brand new bike within one day. I want to thank Pastor Antonio Wilberly of One Mission Church of Westland on Henry Ruff for his compassionate gesture and for paying for that. I appreciate that a lot. And I agree with Councilman Hart on the words of the Westland Police Department award ceremony Friday night. It's amazing to see what our hardworking men and women do for our community. And I want to congratulate 2018 Officer of the Year, Derek Gomez. And then lastly, I just want to talk about, I attended yesterday a opioid forum in Livonia. There was a forum that had Representative Haley Stevens from the United States Congress, someone from the Livonia Public Schools. We had a district court judge. Chief Cade was there from the Livonia Police Department, and many others, including Patrick Strobes, who's a peer rescue recovery coach for GrowthWorks. It was organized and hosted by the Livonia Democratic Club as a non-political event. There were many elected officials there. It was to educate us in the community and raise awareness of the scope and tragedy of opioid abuse across the country, and particularly in the surrounding communities. Opioid abuse knows no boundaries and affects people of every race, religion, and political persuasion, and in every community and income bracket. So if anybody wants more information, I'll just throw out a couple quick phone numbers. You can contact St. Mary Mercy Hospital Intensive Outpatient Program at 734-655-4800. You can contact GrowthWorks at 734-455-4095 to get more information if you know anyone struggling with the opioid epidemic. And then lastly, I just wanted to comment on Mrs. Everett's comments. Councilwoman Green actually came up with that language for the citizens' comments. Myself, Councilman Hersberg, and her were on a Policies and Procedures Committee. We met about 3 times. She came up with that language, so I appreciate you bringing that up and appreciate her for bringing it forward. That's it.
Councilman Hersberg.
Thank you. I'll just take a moment to welcome Kyle Mulligan as our new Parks and Recreation Director. And I want to congratulate all the appointments and reappointments to the boards and commissions. We rely on you guys to do your studying and make the right recommendations for us. We haven't had any issues with any of these boards and commissions lately, and I hope not to have them in the future, but thank you all for your service. In addition to that, it was mentioned the Historical Commission is looking for new members. If you're interested in possibly joining, reach out to maybe one of the council members or the mayor's office, or go on the city website, and we'll all be happy to point you in the right direction and how to go about doing that. I want to thank Mo. We had a gentleman, he came to the podium, he had some sort of issue that wasn't getting resolved, so thanks Mo for getting his information. The Wayne Westland Veterans Parade Council, to all my colleagues on the council, they gave us these forms to fill out. If you guys could get those back to them as soon as possible. And then during the budget meetings, Councilwoman Green brought up the idea of a public safety millage. I'd like to hear more about that and what kind of impact that would have. That's something that we wouldn't decide on doing. That's something that the people would decide if we want to do. Looking at the numbers, it might be of a benefit. Without a millage, I think we'll be fine. I think we could slowly build up the departments back to what they used to be, but certainly with a millage, we'd be able to, depending on what the millage was, we could hire up to 20, 25 people. So she requested a study session. I'll second that. I'd like to have a study session to talk more about it. Looks like that's it. Thanks.
Thanks. I'd like to start this evening by thanking our pledge volunteers, Michael Martinez and Lydia Victor, the 2 students from Marshall Upper Elementary, for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I too would once again like to congratulate the distinguished young women of Wayne Westland on their accomplishments. It's a great event. I believe it's running on WLND currently, or it has run already, but it's a great program. Those girls put in a lot of time and a lot of effort to try and get those scholarships. I too would like to congratulate Kyle on his appointment as our Parks and Rec Director, and thanks to Steve, Roger, and Bob for continuing to serve on the Building Authority. To Matt, thank you for continuing to serve on the EDC. It's much appreciated. And to Mr. Phoenix and Ms. Newton, thank you for offering to serve on these commissions. It's greatly appreciated. We're always looking for people to step forward and volunteer for these commissions, and I truly appreciate you doing so. Tonight, you know, we heard Councilwoman Green, and at the last meeting, Councilwoman Green repeatedly made statements and allegations that are simply not true or not based on fact. Several of her comments go back to the first weeks after she was sworn in last year. She continues to believe that because she asked first, she should have gotten an appointment. The appointment she was referring to was the Nankin Transit Commission. In business or any organization, just because you ask first or are the first to apply for a position doesn't mean you're the most qualified or selected for that position. Having previously served on the Nankin Transit Commission and keeping myself informed on their operations, I know that they had been in the process of updating their technology and would need to further expand their capabilities since they were going to be bringing on Canton Township as a participating community. My recommendation to the council was for Councilman Hart for that position, since his technology background would provide insight to the commission during their expansion and upgrades. I do not make the appointment. Council does. The item on the agenda called for nominations listing my recommendation. I did not make the nomination. The appointment is conducted by an open nomination process in which Councilman Hart was nominated. I asked twice if there were any other nominations. Hearing none, nominations were closed. Councilwoman Green could have asked someone on the council to nominate her, or she could have nominated herself if she wanted to be considered, but she did not avail herself of that opportunity. Councilman Hart's nomination received unanimous approval during the vote, including that of Councilwoman Green. The Councilwoman has stated numerous times at numerous meetings that she has been repeatedly denied the opportunity to serve on any boards, commissions, or committees, and even stated at the last meeting, quote, "If I could have served here in the city of Westland, I would have," end quote. The repeated allegations in the statement made at the last meeting are simply not true. Prior to the day of the meeting that the Nankin Transit appointment was made, I had an email exchange with the councilwoman offering to recommend her nomination at the first meeting in February to the Zoning Board of Appeals, one of the few boards that council makes the appointments for. In my January 15th, 2018 email, I stated, quote, "My recommendations for council member appointments to other commissions or positions are based on who I feel are best suited for certain spots, not on who asked first. That being said, there is an opening on the Zoning Board of Appeals that can be a council person appointed by council. I feel that with your background in the building and property management industry, that would be a better use of your talents than being on the Nankin Transit Commission. If you are interested in that position, I will have it put on the February 5th council meeting agenda." In her response, Councilwoman Green stated, quote, "As it relates to your second paragraph, my 18 years of professional experience consists of budgeting, property management, housing, human resources, capital construction project management, bidding and estimating, contract review and initiation, policy and procedure implementation, revenue oversight, contractor management, development, community growth and stabilization, customer service, etc. I have no desire, nor am I more qualified to be a zoning and appeals liaison," To me, based on her own listing of qualifications, that's exactly the type of individual that would have made a great ZBA member. In that same email, I also stated that I had already spoken with Council President Pro Tem Herzberg, who was chairing the Council Policies and Procedures Committee, about asking Councilwoman Green to serve on that committee. Councilman Herzberg had indicated to me that he would ask her at the council meeting the next day, and I stated that in the email. Councilwoman Green did serve on that committee, as her name being listed on the cover of the document that was approved by council on May 7th of 2018. Councilwoman Green was also appointed to serve on the steering committee for the Reimagine Westland Mall initiative that involved working with our hired planners and consultants to develop a long-term vision for the area around Westland Mall. Councilwoman Green did not show up for the initial meeting and did not let anyone know she would not be attending. Councilwoman Green has also stated she is the only council member whose microphone was not on during her comments. That statement is also not true. During the February 5th, 2018 council comments, Councilman Hart's microphone was not on during his closing comments, either because it was inadvertently wasn't activated or because he failed to push the button on his microphone. As I stated at a previous council meeting, I've reviewed most of the meetings from the past 15 months and found several occasions that the microphone for other council members, the mayor, the city attorney was not on, either because I inadvertently failed to timely turn on the microphone or they inadvertently turned their microphone off when they hit their button while moving or adjusting the microphone. Councilwoman Green stated during the discussion on the vouchers at the last meeting that I received a check for over $1,000 last month for reimbursement. That statement also is not true. The expense report I submitted for an MML training course, an MML legislative committee orientation, and for the MML Capital Conference registration fee was the only expense report I've submitted for 2019. Councilwoman Green attended the Congressional Black Caucus in Washington, D.C., as she stated here tonight, and was requesting reimbursement for her hotel charges only. Until tonight, she hadn't stated anything about any of the sessions that she attended, and in fact, has not submitted the registration fee to even know if she was registered for the conference. The only item we got was the hotel bill. So, she also stated at the last meeting multiple times that the only reason she went to this conference was because she was denied the right to serve on multiple committees, a statement that I previously stated was not true. She also stated several times during that discussion that it was political training. There's a big difference between political training and the usual educational training that council or anyone else in the city has gone to. The councilwoman also left without informing anyone, a violation of Article 3, Section B of our policies and procedures, which she helped revise, that states, members of the council shall notify the president or pro tem electronically via the city clerk when they were on vacation or out of town. Councilwoman Green clearly has her own personal agenda. It has nothing to do with the business of the city. She has been claiming ongoing bias, retaliation, belittling, and bullying that the facts don't support. I've refrained from previously commenting on her misstatements, but because of the continued disruption of the meetings with allegations that are simply not true, I felt I needed to let the residents know and set the record straight. Is there a motion to adjourn?